Greetings, everyone. My name is Denise Scotto, and I'm an attorney here in New York City, and I used to work in the UN in New York headquarters for many years. I used to service the Commission on the Status of Women, and when the CEDAW committee was meeting in New York, I would also service that before they sent it to Geneva with the other treaty monitoring bodies. So the issues when we talk about advancing the status of women and girls around the world is one which is extremely close to my heart. And I know it's close to the hearts of everyone in this room. And to those of you who are watching from the live stream, we welcome you too. Excellencies, distinguished guests, but most of all, dear friends, thank you for coming tonight to this special cultural night here to showcase the achievements and the wonderful culture that Taiwan is having with regard to investing in its women and the way it invests in women and other people around the world. We know that investing in women is such a game changer because it changes the life of that individual woman, her children, her family, and the community. And this does impact community by community, our nations, and our global world. We also know from the UN years and years ago that when you invest in women, there's a double dividend. And this is what we talk about, how we accelerate investing in our societies by empowering women and girls in every single way, not just financial, through education, through health, through having them fulfill and understand that they are here to really achieve their basic human rights and fundamental freedoms. Taiwan, in my opinion, and as many people know, is a leader. They're at the forefront of advancing the status and progress of women and girls around the world. I can attest to that because I have been in Taiwan many, many times, and I have helped so many people in Taiwan take a look at laws that relate not only to violence against women, but many other areas as well. And I can honestly say that I'm so impressed and inspired every time I meet these beautiful people from Taiwan, and in particular, these ambassadors are Taiwan delegates who are here in New York during the Commission on the Status of Women. It's a real honor for me to be here. And I'd like to say that we have many of the old-timers who actually started this here, of bringing women from Taiwan, from Taipei, here to New York to the Commission on the Status of Women and the side events, the alternative events that go on during this time. And Professor Chong-She is here, and I'd just like to have her stand up because we all stand on the shoulders of her, and without the efforts that she has done, we wouldn't be here today. So I'd like to now commend Ambassador Lee for his leadership in bringing everyone together for this particular program tonight as we examine the image on this beautiful slide, how fostering women and girls' financial resilience is so significant. And we will hear from many different kinds of perspectives about how this is done, who does this, and the way it impacts women and different countries. And we know that when we have these global UN goals, it's really about collaborating and having partnerships for the goals, right? Because it's not just about focusing on women. When we help women, we help everyone. We help men in society too. And we need everybody on board to do that. Not just the UN, not just the government. We need business to do that. We need small business to do that. We need the academic community, but we also need the NGO, the activist group as well. It's a huge effort because it's about all of us. It's about our one humanity, our shared humanity, and how we can come together to create a better world for everyone. I think that our speakers tonight will be very insightful for all of us, but before we get to that portion of the program, it is my very deep honor to invite Ambassador James Lee, who, if you don't know, is the Director General of the Taiwan Economic and Cultural Office here in New York. That means he's also the head of the UN task force here in New York. And that's a very big position because, as you can see, we have so many different people, so many diplomats from many countries here in this room, and this is a wonderful opportunity for him to shine and to have everyone from his community shine. Without further ado, Ambassador Lee, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Dennis. Her Excellency, Deputy Prime Minister Dela of Eswatini, Minister Figueiredo of Paraguay, Tuvalu Prime Minister Special Envoy Lafay, Excellencies, Ambassadors, Honorable Senator from Canada, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, good evening and welcome to everyone joining us here tonight for this CSW SAI event. Firstly, I would like to thank the Marshall Islands, Palau, and the Concordia for co-hosting our CSW SAI event, Taiwan Main Stage and Culture Night. In his message for the International Women's Day last week, UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres indicated that achieving full gender equality remained one of the UN's top priority. However, achieving this goal is not without challenges. Gender discrimination and unfair accessibility of financial support continue to deprive women of opportunities to reach their full potential. Secretary General Antonio Guterres noted that at our current rate, it will take some 300 more years for women to achieve the same legal status as men around the globe. This is unacceptable. We need to boost our effort to accelerate progress, and one of the effective ways to move forward is to foster women and girls' financial resilience. Gender equality is a fundamental right. Only by achieving it can we ensure sustainable development and a better world for us all. Taiwan stands at the forefront of this effort in promoting gender equality and women empowerment. According to the latest UN Development Program Index and the OECD Gender Index, Taiwan ranks first in Asia and sixth globally in the overall gender equality. And women accounts for 42% of seats in our new parliament, well above the global average. Thank you. With President Tsai as the Taiwan's first female head of state in the past 8 years, Bi Khim Hsiao will soon become the second female vice president in Taiwan history. Thank you. Taiwan has been working tirelessly with partners and stakeholders to eliminate discriminatory law, social norms, and practice to improve women and girls' access to financial resources. Tonight, we are honored to have ranking officials and NGO representatives from Taiwan and around the world joining us to share the progress that has been made and the challenges we must overcome. We are also delighted to have 3 talented Taiwanese female entrepreneurs who combine their passions in promoting cultural heritage with their dedication in advancing local economic development. And they will offer us a fabulous culture experience right after the seminar. So thank you again for joining us. I have no doubt that the insights shared by our keynote speakers and panelists will be of great values and inspiring for us all. Thank you.
I think Ambassador Lee really stressed that advancing the status of women and girls is a human right. If we look at the UN Charter and we look at the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, we talk about men and women, and that's the bedrock of everything. So right now, I'd like to show a little bit of a counterpoint to expand upon what Ambassador Lee was talking about in terms of what Taiwan is doing. And we have a short video clip that we'd like to show now. So I'm going to ask that we show the video clip before we have some of our dignitaries actually start speaking. Without further ado, let's go to the video.
We strive for perfection with heart and soul. We protect our land with selfless devotion. Together, we make Taiwan more cultural and humanistic. Power of women.
第748号解释修正通过。
On the road of advocating equalities, even in the face of frustration, we never give up easily, because we believe that love could endure external obstacles. Gender equality in Taiwan. In the wake of the economic miracle, women are no longer absent from work. Constantly striding, we put our energy into practice. We economy. Thanks to your courage in speaking out, the world begins to show concern. Thanks to your innovative changes, society starts to transform. Together, move forward fearlessly. Taiwan Gender Equality Week.
So this program tonight is supposed to be one that's fast-paced. We have a lot of speakers, and we're trying to have like a TED Talk format so that we ask the speakers to really have a nutshell version of what they'd like to say so that it's really interesting and that we can juxtapose it with the next speaker who comes up. But I would like to say now, we do have a keynote speaker, and that is someone who will give a message straight from the heart. You know, I spoke with her briefly earlier this evening, you know, and I think that we will really all feel how she opens up someone's heart in so many ways. And I'd like to now say that Ambassador Kabua is our speaker. She's the permanent representative of the permanent mission of the Republic of the Marshall Islands at the United Nations here in New York. And I'd like to just give a little bit of a background about her. Until her last appointment, she served as ambassador to Fiji, and then before that, she was the position of ambassador to Japan. So we have someone who is extremely well-versed into the diplomatic corps, but also in these issues as well. She is going to share her perspective on the cooperation between Taiwan and the Marshall Islands and how they have been improving the empowerment and gender equality of women in the community. We're waiting to hear from you, so without further ado, Ambassador Kabua, the floor is yours.
Thank you, moderator. Ni hao, everyone. Good evening. I bring you warm greeting of Yahweh from the Marshall Islands to everyone here tonight. And those that are not here, well, all the best to them anyway. This has been a very busy week, and the next week also with the CSW ongoing, and also with a very small mission. It is, it sometimes is overwhelming. Anyway, dear Ambassador Lee, Your Excellency, thank you for this evening and for your kind invitation to join you and the TECO family. You are the most effective I would say, Taiwan representation here in the United States and beyond. I just so wish that, we should not be doing this here. We should be in the UN where you belong. But I also want to acknowledge the other co-host tonight, Palau. I met her earlier this morning with our meeting with HE, Secretary General Guterres. She's on our flight to California to address one of the we're ocean countries, and one of the a topic that we had really fight for is the challenge on containing plastics. So this meeting that she's going to is about plastics. How do we contain that in the Pacific Oceans, where we are from? And I also would like to acknowledge excellencies and everyone here, ladies and gentlemen, for this opportunity to share with you a brief sharing of Marshall Island. So the Marshall Island is very pleased to co-host as well today's event with TECO and the wonderful staff of TECO, and for this year's CSW, and to focus on women and financial resilience. The Republic of the Marshall Islands has been a close partner with Taiwan in addressing gender and access to finance. Taiwan is an important development partner, including and assisting us address the SDGs and providing partnership in sustainable agriculture, climate adaptation, renewable energy, medicine, education, gender, and local community grassroots assistance. They are very effective in the Marshall Islands and elsewhere that Taiwan has really come to our aid in smaller states. Our long-standing friendship with Taiwan is also anchored on a people-to-people basis. Taiwan has been instrumental in establishing our landmark Women Business Small Loan Revolving Fund, what we call Kare Im Ankil Fund. This is like women interest where they are given fund to start their own entrepreneurial whatever they want to do in what they can do for themselves and their families to help, put food on the table. What I'm wearing tonight is one of those that, these are Marshallese handicrafts that these women, weave from just coconut and our shells, just to promote their wares as well as to create some kind of income from this funding that Taiwan has also started with our women. So the fund provides tangible support for women economic empowerment and can be the seed to grow the innovative aspiration of our local communities. This fund is a key step forward in addressing the gender gap in unemployment and underemployment. The KIA Fund, this is the women fund that I was just talking about. It's called KIA, not the cars. I think this was Kia is from Korea, made in Korea. Well, this is not. This is for the acronym for the Women Fund. And it's a non-profit organization that target projects and programs for marginalized women and girls and their dependents across all ages in the Marshall Islands. The KIA Fund was established in accordance with an agreement between the Marshall Islands and Taiwan government, signed in March of 2019. The fund provides the first small business loan in 2020 through our local bank, the Marshall Island Bank. And through our local bank, the fund is managed by our longtime local women's NGOs. The KIA Fund seeks to achieve gender equality by expanding opportunities, resources, and rewards for women while building and strengthening gender-focused networks and coalition to improve the lives of women in the Marshall Islands. The guiding principle of the new funds are two: one, promote women talent and innovation. Second, support women economic development. Third, to provide support to organizations and individuals, and to support Marshall Islands' national economic policy. This fund is island-tailored and designed to provide access at ground level to help women in local communities advance entrepreneurship and help build our private sector. We are not flying in consultation to write report or host more workshops. We cannot afford that. So we are directly investing in our future with tangible results to help grow women-owned small-scale enterprises. One advantage to being a small nation and government is using opportunities to cut through layers of bureaucracy and reduce red tape approaches. The Marshall Islands and Taiwan are true partners, working with civil society and individual women entrepreneurs to seed fund their business and to help create financial employment and security. In the Marshall Islands, where we are a low-lying atoll state with no higher ground, women are uniquely more vulnerable than men to the effect of humanitarian crises such as climate change impact. And as women, our critical role in recovery and resilience is gaining recognition. Despite some important progress on addressing gender policies and legal reforms, we have many deep challenges on core gender goals. We know that Taiwan will continue to be an important and primary partner with us in advancing progress on gender, as well as on cross-cutting approaches across the development agenda. Taiwan has also been much to share with the rest of the world, and only if the UN would allow Taiwan to be part of this solution, making decisions in the UN that can be more gender parity, can be more inclusive and real for those small states. I know it's not in my, I'm getting out of my statement here, but it is important for Taiwan to be back at the UN where it belongs, where they can contribute. It's one of the countries that was first founder of the UN. So anyway, Marshall Islands will continue to emphasize the rightful participation of Taiwan in the UN system, including specialized agencies such as WHO, UNFCCC, and ICAO. We remember when COVID was here, Taiwan contained itself, and Taiwan really did not spread what was coming in that all of us suffer from. But it shows how Taiwan, as a small state, continue to fend for itself and know how to survive. Anyway, so as we have for decades, the Marshall Islands remain standing strong with Taiwan in improving our human rights and our core development and working to ensure the democratic freedom of our peoples are there and will remain be strong. And we seek every possible opportunity to let the world know of our friendship and our partnership. Thank you so very much for this opportunity. Taiwan strong.
Thank you so much, Ambassador Kabua, for really showing how Taiwan has been such a leader and has been helping in so many ways in times of humanitarian crisis, but also explaining the Kia Fund and all the progress that's been made in your country with the assistance of Taiwan and their technical assistance and financial assistance. You're very right to say that these are extremely busy days and that everybody is overwhelmed with one activity to another activity to another. And it makes it even more special that we have someone joining us tonight who is with us from the Kingdom Eswatini. We have right now the Deputy Prime Minister, Her Excellency, Lulisili Daladla. She's the Deputy Prime Minister and was the first woman appointed as the country's Minister of Foreign Affairs. Before that, she was a senator So she's been in positions of power and leadership in her government, in her country. In February of 2019, she visited Taiwan and met with President Tsai at that time. And then she's going to describe what came out of that meeting, a workshop promoting women's economic empowerment, which was held under the Taiwan-U.S. Global Cooperation Training Framework. This was held last week in the Kingdom of Eswatini to mark International Women's Day, which was just on Friday, March 8, as many of us know. So I would like to call the deputy to give her remarks and to speak about women's empowerment in her country and what she'd like to share about Taiwan. It's our honor to have you here this evening.
Thank you very much. Your Excellencies, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, it is a great pleasure to be here tonight. I come from Eswatini. It is still a kingdom, and we are proud of that. We are nestled between the Republic of South Africa and Mozambique. So we're a landlocked country, small by size, but with a big heart. And we are proud to be associated with Taiwan. We are proud to be rubbing shoulders with such a big country, small in size, but of course, with a big heart as well. The Kingdom of Eswatini has got beautiful women, women who ooze confidence and pride, who believe in themselves. We're one country that is still embedded in its culture and traditions. We refused to be colonized when it comes to our culture and traditions. We enjoy our identity and we enjoy who we are. This is one unique element that is enjoyed by the whole continent. They like to be associated with Eswatini because it refused to detach itself from its identity. We enjoy so many cultural activities. Last week, Women Regiment was enjoying a cultural event where we dance and sing. So we are inviting everyone here one day to visit this lovely kingdom, which is a landlocked one, modern but still cultural. It is an honor to stand before you today at the Taiwan Main Stage and Cultural Night, an event dedicated to fostering women and girls' financial resilience. I extend my heartfelt gratitude to the organizers for providing this platform to discuss such a noble theme. Taiwan and Eswatini have maintained, again, we're proud of this, no matter the pressure, we're just a one nation that once it makes friends, it keeps those friends. It keeps its promises. So Taiwan and Eswatini have maintained official diplomatic relations since 1968. Eswatini is a staunch ally of Taiwan and supports Taiwan diplomatically, a fact that Taiwan greatly values amidst a complex international situation. In equal measure, Taiwan has been a significant partner for Eswatini in terms of economic cooperation and development assistance. Taiwan has provided highly valued assistance in various forms, including the microfinance initiative, including capacity building through scholarships and in-service training, not only for women, but for men as well. Infrastructure projects, healthcare assistance, agricultural development and technical cooperation, and these initiatives have contributed to Eswatini's socio-economic development and capacity building efforts. In the Kingdom of Eswatini, we recognize the pivotal role that women and girls play in our society. They are the bedrock of our families, the backbone of our economy, and the architects of our future. Yet, despite their invaluable contributions, women and girls continue to face formidable barriers to financial empowerment and independence. Of course, we've come up with different financial empowerment initiatives, including one that we signed with Taiwan, whereby Eswatini got about 18 million to assist rural women with running their businesses. The theme of tonight's event, Fostering Women and Girls' Financial Resilience, resonates deeply with our commitment to gender equality and inclusive economic growth. We understand that financial resilience is not merely about access to resources. It is about empowering women and girls to control their destinies, seize opportunities, and thrive in a rapidly changing world. Program Director, Your Excellencies, empowering women economically is not only a moral imperative, but also a strategic imperative for sustainable development. When women are financially empowered, they invest in their family's health, education, and well-being, creating a ripple effect on positive change that reverberates across generations. To foster women and girls' financial resilience, we must address the structural inequalities and systemic barriers that perpetuate gender-based discrimination and marginalization. This requires a multifaceted approach that encompasses policy reforms, targeted interventions, inclusive partnerships. And as a country, we've come up with many policy reforms to address these barriers. First and foremost, we must ensure equal access to education and vocational training for women and girls, and that is, of course, in place in our country. Education is the cornerstone of empowerment, and we can all attest to that. Equipping women with the knowledge, skills, and confidence to navigate the complexities of the modern economy and assert their rights in the workplace and beyond. Second, we must promote women's entrepreneurship and facilitate access to credit, markets, and networks. This offers women a pathway to economic independence and self-reliance, enabling them to harness their creativity, innovation, and leadership potential to create sustainable livelihoods and contribute to national prosperity. Third, we must enhance women's access to financial services, including savings, credit, insurance, and digital banking. Financial inclusion is not only a matter of economic justice, but also a catalyst for poverty reduction, social mobility, and inclusive growth. Fourth, we must challenge harmful gender norms and stereotypes that undermine women's economic agency and perpetuate gender-based violence and discrimination. We must create a culture of respect, equality, and solidarity, where women and girls are valued, empowered, and celebrated for their unique talents and contributions. Finally, we must strengthen international cooperation and solidarity to advance gender equality and women's empowerment on a global scale. We must leverage the power of partnerships, knowledge sharing, and resource mobilization to accelerate progress towards the Sustainable Development Goals and build a more just, inclusive, and sustainable world for all. In the context of Eswatini, Taiwan supports projects and initiatives aimed at empowering women and girls economically through partnerships with organizations like SWAGA, Women Unlimited, 1 Billion Rising, Women in Trade, Challenge Ministries, Junior Achievement, Young Heroes, SOS Children's Village, and Women Farmers Association. These collaborations typically involve providing financial resources, technical assistance, training programs, and capacity building initiatives tailored to the specific needs and priorities of women and girls in Eswatini. In closing, let us reaffirm our commitment to fostering women and girls' financial resilience as a cornerstone of inclusive development and social justice. Let us work together, hand in hand, to dismantle barriers, also unlock opportunities, and unleash the full potential of women and girls as agents of change, progress, and hope. I thank you. Siyabonga.
Thank you so much for that comprehensive reminder about women. And also, I think I'd like to stress one of the most important takeaways that we've heard tonight so far. Women are the bedrock of families. No matter where you live, in which country, in which community, women are the bedrock of families because women are taking care of children, of older family members, of sisters, of brothers, of disabled people. And at the same time, they are doing things beyond the family. They are holding down a professional job. They have small businesses. They have online businesses. We could go on and on and on about what women are doing. So I'd like to stress that and thank you for really bringing that up. So that's a reminder of the world's women. We should be the architects of the future. We should be shaping policy that affects our human family. So again, I'd just like to thank you for your comprehensive speech, Deputy Prime Minister, and for joining us this evening. I'd like to turn now to our next speaker, Ambassador Kelly Curry. She's a former U.S. Ambassador at Large for Global Women's Issues. We were on some Zoom programs during the COVID pandemic, and she has a lot to share and to say. She's also an attorney, and she previously served in the U.S. delegation as a representative to the UN Economic and Social Council, and is acting deputy representative of the U.S. to the UN. She previously, before that, held senior policy positions with the U.S. State Department and several international non-governmental organization and humanitarian organizations too. So without further ado, I'm going to invite Ambassador Curry to take the floor.
Thank you, Denise. And thank you, Ambassador Lee and Teko, for this incredible evening. It's amazing, this packed house here. This is incredible. And to see all of you come out tonight to talk about women's financial inclusion and the importance of ensuring financial resilience for women and girls. It sounds like it could be a little bit of a dry topic, so I'm really excited to see all these people come out to talk about women's financial inclusion. This is something that I worked a lot on when I was in the State Department, and also when I was here as the deputy to Ambassador Nikki Haley at the U.S. mission here in New York. And I miss all the energy of CSW. I kind of forgotten how exciting but also exhausting, when Ambassador Kabua was talking about how exhausting this week and next week are. I started to have flashbacks to my own experience of just running around from one thing to the next and never having time to eat or go to the bathroom or do anything normal during these 2 weeks because it was always so busy. But it was always such a wonderful experience to see women from all over the world come to New York to approach these challenges that we all face in our countries, and to bring their own experiences and their own unique perspectives to these shared challenges. So it was always one of my favorite times of the year, even though it was exhausting. And it's really great, of course, to be here at the Taiwan Economic and Cultural Office. It's such a wonderful center of activity here in New York. I worked very closely with Ambassador Lee's predecessor, Ambassador Lily Kuo, who is a great part of the wonderful women in the Taiwanese diplomatic corps, of whom I know very many and have always been impressed. And Ambassador Lee has a great team here with a lot of female diplomats who do a wonderful job as well. And I want to extend my gratitude to his wonderful team who put this event together and worked with their colleagues from Palau and the Marshall Islands and Concordia to put together this incredible series of activities that's taking place. So, I do remember one thing from my time here in New York, the nice shortcut to all the excellencies, and to say all protocols observed in order to get around having to recognize everybody. So all protocols observed. I'm going to get to the meat of these remarks. When we talk about, we've heard a lot already from previous speakers about how important it is for countries to invest in the health, education, and economic empowerment of women and girls, and that overall this leads to better social, economic, and political indicators. It's something of a truism, especially CSW Week. You really hear this over and over and over again. But we don't always talk about the opposite, right? We don't talk about what happens when you don't do it, and how bad things can get when you choose not to invest in women and girls, and what that does to your society, how it damages your development and outcomes, how it creates instability in your society that doesn't usually stay in your country. It usually ends up pouring out and affecting your neighbors and your region, and oftentimes the rest of the world. And we can point to examples from around the world, from Afghanistan to South Sudan to many places that we all know, where we've seen how societies that routinely undermine women, who don't invest in women, who don't allow women to play full roles in their society, tend to be the most unstable places, the places that have the biggest challenges meeting development outcomes. So this is, I think that when I think about these issues, to me these are national security issues. I come from a national security background, and so I think of women's financial resilience as a national security imperative. And that's why I think it's so important for my country and for our partners to invest in it, because it is a national security imperative. It's not just a nice thing to do. I recently, in my current role as a fellow at the Atlantic Council working on a development cooperation project, we published a new report. It's called the Atlantic Council Freedom and Prosperity Atlas, and I encourage you to go out and read it. It's full of charts and data and is pretty dry, I'm gonna say, I'm not gonna lie. Lots of economic data, lots of charts. But one of the most interesting things, I wrote the chapter on the Indo-Pacific. And what shocked me, even given my background, I guess it shouldn't have, but it really surprised me when I looked at the data. This project tracks data, economic, social data related to freedom and prosperity over a period of 25 to 30 years. And one of the most interesting things that I observed when I was looking at the data and trying to figure out what to write, what to say new about the experience of the growth model in the Indo-Pacific region in Asia over the past 20 years, was it really surprised me to see that if you looked at the different indicators for, and it breaks out a bunch of different indicators for freedom and prosperity, the indicator that showed the most correlation, that tracked up at the same rate as economic growth, was women's inclusion in the economy, and for each country that we looked at. And you saw this across the region at a regional aggregate level, but you also saw it at the country level too. And it was very, very clear. And actually, if you took out the women's economic empowerment aspect, then pretty much every other indicator stayed flat across the region, while economic activity went up and growth went up. So this told me that not only is it important, it may be the single most important thing that these Asian countries did. And we talk a lot about the Asian growth miracles that Taiwan and Korea and Japan have experienced, but we don't really think in terms of those economic miracles as having been driven by increased workforce participation by women. But the reality is that that may be one of the single most, if not the single most important thing that drove those economies to continue growing over the past 20 years after they had become mature economies in many ways. But we also saw the same thing in countries like Indonesia that are still developing. And so it was really interesting to me to see this. You can read all about it. I encourage you to go to the Atlantic Council's website, to the Freedom and Prosperity Center's piece of that website, and look up the atlas. It's online. But it was really amazing to me to see that. And this really validated the work that we had done with something called the Women's Global Development and Prosperity Initiative, WGDP. And I worked on this initiative when I was at the State Department. We worked very closely with our Taiwanese partners on it. They brought a lot to the table during this when we were developing it. But one of the things that was most interesting and that I focused on very heavily because of my background as a lawyer was looking at these barriers to women's financial inclusion and economic participation. And we found that if countries around the world removed barriers to participation for women in just 5 specific areas of law, and they were access to financial services or capital, restrictions on travel, restrictions on working in different sectors of the economy, restrictions on property ownership and inheritance rights, and access to other institutions like courts and bureaucracies that were unequal access to those institutions. If countries removed the barriers that existed in just those 5 areas of law, we determined that this could unlock $7 trillion in new economic activity globally. And when we looked at the research and the data and figured this out, it was just like, this is a no-brainer. We need to go out and work with the countries that have these barriers in place and help them to unlock these, this potential. And when you tell countries, and when you tell, I was often told I need to go meet with the women's minister or meet with the person responsible for gender. And I'm like, no, I want to meet with the economic ministry. I want to meet with the trade people. I want them to look at our data and see what we're seeing and what they're leaving on the table by not including women in their economy fully. And so we really made a push to go targeting the finance ministries and the treasury people and the people who did economic policy in these governments to say, look at what's happening because you have this restriction that doesn't let women do night work, or doesn't let women work in the construction field, or different things, or doesn't let women inherit property equally on the basis, and these things are really holding your country back. And it doesn't cost you any money to change these things. That's the great news. You don't have to do a new program. You don't have to go out and spend a lot of money. All you have to do is find the political will to change the laws and regulations that are doing this. So we felt like this was low-hanging fruit, and we did a lot of work around this, and we saw a lot of results around the world. Unfortunately, COVID hit right when we were launching this, so we weren't as effective as I think we could have been. But it was a really important thing for me to see how hungry countries, our partners, were for this kind of engagement, for not just saying these things in a nice way to have, that, oh, this is nice, we want to empower women and girls, but showing them the financial data and how it affected their growth in a dollars and cents way that made sense for them, and showed them that the cost-benefits analysis was there very, very clearly. So I think that we all now know there's this undeniable correlation between women's participation in the workforce and economic growth and prosperity worldwide. But I think that this finding becomes even more profound when you look at how these countries have done this in the Asia Pacific. And then I think that it's really, like I said, when we looked at factors in the Atlantic Council report like trade liberalization and overall improvements in property rights, overall investment freedom, and even overall, when you looked at the overall aggregate of educational attainment improvements, none of those had the same effect in these countries. So it's really, I think, it's really critical. And when you think about that, I want to highlight what's going on in the biggest country in the Asia-Pacific region and how they are working against this trend, because this is what continues to surprise me as I look at the data. So right now, the People's Republic of China, under Xi Jinping, it has thrown decades of expansion of women's participation into reverse over the past 10 years. They are making it harder for women to participate in the workforce. They are discouraging women from participating in the workforce. And it is becoming a huge problem, not just for China, but for the whole region, especially if you think about what one of the main drivers of growth has been in the region. And if you have the biggest country in the region, the biggest economy in the region going literally slamming the car into reverse, not only does that hurt the Chinese economy, but it has a demonstration and it weighs heavily across the whole region. And this is what I'm very, very alarmed by right now. To see this happening after this, in a region that's really experienced such phenomenal growth, and to see this regression on economic empowerment is very worrying, and it should worry everyone in the world who wants to see women advance globally and advance economically. And what's happening in China also shows a concerning pattern, because China, again, these things don't stay in China if China's doing this. China is trying to export their development model all around the world. And so this practice, these patterns that we're seeing in the People's Republic of China are not going to stay in the People's Republic of China. They are going to have an impact even beyond the Indo-Pacific region. It also shows how fragile women's progress is. We've made so much progress, but it can be reversed by somebody who's intent on doing that, and when you have an authoritarian government that is intent on doing that. And that's really frightening for those of us who've been working on a freedom agenda of pushing economic freedom for women, to see these anti-freedom policies being pushed out and taking hold in the second largest economy in the world and the biggest one in the Indo-Pacific. So I think that up against this very stark realization about what's happening with China, again, you have this bright light with Taiwan. The contrast could not be more clear. You have a country that has not just embraced women's political participation, but also women's economic participation. As Ambassador Lee noted, Taiwan has the highest proportion of female legislators in Asia, at more than 40%. And they also, 37% of its small businesses are led by women. In addition, they've had for the past 8 years an extremely popular and very powerful and strong female president who has led the country and has been a role model, not just in the region, but globally. And now my dear friend Bi-khim Hsiao is becoming the vice president, and cannot be more excited to see what she and President Lee are going to do. It's really exciting to see what's happening in Taiwan from the perspective. And again, the contrast and how it has benefited Taiwan Taiwanese society to have women's participation be so robust and so encouraged and such a policy priority, not at home. And then you see what it happens when they take it abroad with the GCTF, and you see in Palau and Eswatini what that program does. Our partnership with Taiwan, with the Global Cooperation and Training Framework, which we really intensified over the past few years, has just been incredible. I personally saw the kinds of activities that GCTF does to empower women around the world and with their diplomatic partners, and it is extraordinary. They do a really good job. The programs are very high quality. They are really about helping women to find economic empowerment where they are. They listen and adapt to the local context in ways that a lot of donors do not. And they focus really on what the women in these communities need. They don't come in with a donor-driven agenda. They come in and listen and ask questions and then develop a program jointly. They work on things like entrepreneurship and accessing markets and other things that are important to these women in the partner countries who are seeking to build their businesses. And it's because it's so demand-driven, that's what makes it so successful. This is why, I talk about Taiwan's secret sauce as a country and why it's such a successful country and how wonderful it is that they're not keeping that secret sauce to themselves, but they're going around and sharing it with their diplomatic and development partners. So I want to just, in closing, quote something that President Tsai said last year during the Empower Women Latin America conference, which took place in Taiwan, and it had guests from all across the Latin America region, another area where Taiwan works very closely with us to develop women's potential. She said, "We work hand in hand with our diplomatic allies to assist women in upgrading their professional skills. We also provide consultations and resources needed to start a business. With this support and encouragement, more women can realize their dreams of becoming entrepreneurs. Through these projects, women become economically independent and improve their working conditions. This gives them a sense of accomplishment, confidence, and courage, and creates positive change in their lives." I couldn't have said it better myself. The United States is so proud, and its global partners will continue to invest in women's economic empowerment, and we need partners like Taiwan. One of my favorite Taiwan kind of phrases is Taiwan can help. This was something that came out during the pandemic. It was a catchphrase that President Tsai used a lot to talk about how Taiwan can be a partner, Taiwan can be part of the solution. And here, definitely when it comes to women's economic empowerment and financial resilience, Taiwan can help, and they not only can help, but they do help. They help by actually doing things, not just talking about them. So thank you again for giving me an opportunity to speak with you tonight, and I look forward to the rest of the program. Thank you.
Thank you, Ambassador Curry. We do have to move on, but I'm going to take one opportunity to speak about what you said. You talked about how change in the law is so important, and that's really true. We know the Convention to Eliminate All Forms of Discrimination Against Women is the international Bill of Rights that deal with every issue relating to women. Some people say from cradle to grave. It deals with employment. It deals with access to credit. It deals with education. It deals with health. It deals with women in leadership. On and on and on it goes. So it's really critical that for those countries that have ratified CEDAW, as it's known, to really implement this in their national law and their national legislation, to then create policy and programs around that really touches the lives of women and girls on the ground day to day. So it really is important when we have CEDAW in place that we repeal discriminatory laws that are very negative in fact or in practice that deal with women and girls. And this is a real challenge in order to do that. You did mention there is a lot of regression against women, and that's not only in China, but around the world we do see a trend where there is so much regression in one area or another. And it's not really for us to talk about that right now, although we could, because the focus tonight is on fostering women and girls' financial resilience. So I'd like to remind our upcoming speakers that we want to dance and sing, as the Deputy Prime Minister had talked about. We have our cultural representatives, and one of them, Miss Lynn here, who is going to be doing that. And you can actually experience that with her. I've done that before for many years, and it's a real delight. So let's remember that when we have our next speakers come up, you are holding all of us back from the cultural experience and the reception, the food and the drink. So I am now going to put some pressure on our next speaker. I'm going to turn to him. He's on the hot seat. And we have the director of the Indo-Pacific Directorate, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Lithuania. So we have Julius Pranavicius with us today. His past includes being the director of the European Union Department, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Lithuania, the Deputy Director of the EU Council, the Presidency Department, Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Lithuania, and he will speak tonight on our topic, women's empowerment and financial resilience from the Lithuanian perspective. Please, the floor is yours.
Your Excellency, Deputy Prime Minister, dear colleagues, distinguished panelists and guests. It is my honor to be here today and at the opening of Taiwan Gender Equality Week and to join this initiative. I would like to thank our Taiwanese friends for extending this invitation. Lithuania and Taiwan are linked by a special bond, a bond of friendship. Advancing at a rapid pace and in a spectrum of fields over the last couple of years, our relations are driven by a solid foundation. We are both like-minded, frontline democracies, sharing and defending the core values of democracy, freedom, rule of law, and, of course, human rights. This year's focus on fostering women's and girls' financial resilience draws a special attention to women's financial empowerment and well-being, an indispensable pillar for achieving gender-related SDGs. Gender equality isn't just about fairness. It is crucial for the strength of our democracies, economies, and global partnerships. When women have an equal voice alongside men in shaping our societies, it enriches decision-making, fosters innovation, and ensures that the needs and perspectives of all citizens are represented. Globally, we are not doing great, and for sure we are doing not enough. The 2023 Gender Snapshot Report from the UN Gender Equality Agency warned that if current trends continue, over 340 million women and girls will be living in poverty by 2030. And the next generation of women will be still experiencing widespread gender disparity. As the world is grappling with concrete challenges, namely post-pandemic recovery, climate change, deteriorating security, food crisis, these affect women to a great extent, especially in vulnerable and fragile contexts. To counter these trends and pivot towards greater gender equality, we need more commitment and leadership. And Taiwan, a vibrant democracy, and Taiwan is a leading actor in this field, with its accomplishments exceeding both the average global and Asian performance. In 2021, Taiwan ranked 7th globally and 1st in Asia in UN Gender Equality Index. Last year, in 2023, it ranked 5th worldwide in Social Institutions and Gender Index. Taiwan is also a global leader in women's political participation, and its initiatives contribute to advancing the rights and well-being of women around the world. The Taiwan Gender Equality Week, happening yearly, is another proof of just how strong this commitment really is. As for my country, Lithuania, we are inspired by the most virtuous countries and gender equitable societies. Lithuania has been putting efforts to make progress. And I can share good news. According to the Global Gender Gap Report 2023, published by the World Economic Forum, Lithuania is now ranking 6th in Europe and 9th in the world for gender equality. European Institute for Gender Equality, the UN agency which is located in Vilnius, Lithuania, is attributing most of this progress to the improvements in the domain of power and time. No doubt that we still have a long way to go on gender equality, including in financial and economic domains, but the changes are visible. Women's involvement in technology in Lithuania has been growing steadily in recent years, as women are increasingly joining the technology workforce in Lithuania, and there has been also a rise in female entrepreneurs in this sector. While there may still be a gender gap in certain tech fields, more women are entering roles in software development, data analysis, cybersecurity, and other tech-related fields. Women Go Tech program, founded back in 2016, has contributed in significant ways in this process of building a more inclusive and innovative tech ecosystem by providing women with the necessary support and skills. Lithuania is hence not a newcomer in the field of women empowerment and has also started being a provider of expertise. The above-mentioned Women Go Tech program has now set an ambitious goal to extend its scope and assist tens of thousands of women in the Central and Eastern European region. A special invitation is extended, of course, to Ukraine women, whom the program aims to assist in discovering new and promising opportunities that will aid them in integrating into the labor market. Let me give you some more examples of our development cooperation initiatives in this field. In 2021 and 2022, Lithuania implemented 3 projects aimed at women's empowerment in India, which targeted female population and was designed to increase gender parity of households, financial decisions, and foster financial literacy. In the same period, Lithuania implemented 6 projects in Palestine in the field of women's economic and digital empowerment. These initiatives were tailored to strengthen the participation of women and girls in the labor market by providing knowledge and practical skills in technological entrepreneurship and digital businesses. In 2022, a bilateral project focusing on gender equality and women empowerment was carried on in Azerbaijan. The project was aimed at reducing the gender gap in science, technology, engineering, and mathematics by increasing regional awareness of women in successful careers in STEM fields. As Lithuania's Taiwan ties have been developing with dynamism over the last couple of years, especially in the economical and technological cooperation, we see a lot of value in mainstreaming gender equality in our joint initiatives. With our partnerships growing stronger, we are also eager to explore new grounds for cooperation, including in third countries, and especially in areas where our know-how can complement Taiwanese expertise. Female empowerment through financial inclusion, resilience, literacy, and digitalization could be one of those. This is even more so as Lithuania and Taiwan have already experience in working together in third countries. And here let me express our most sincere gratitude to Taiwan for joining Lithuania's reconstruction efforts in Ukraine. And this brings me to my last and most important point. As of 2022, more than 600 million women and girls lived in conflict-affected countries, a sharp 5% increase since 2017. In these fragile conflict situations, due to a combination of factors, it is women and girls that bear the brunt of the secondary and lasting effects of war and conflict. In Ukraine, Israel and Gaza, Somalia and DRC, Mali, South Sudan, Haiti, Afghanistan, Iran, Myanmar, and other conflict hotspots, we see women and girls to be disproportionately affected, and this aggravates further the gender disparity for years to come. In the ongoing Russia's full-scale war against Ukraine, women continue facing numerous challenges related to forced displacement, heightened risk of violence and abuse, unemployment, economic insecurity, as well as a low access to basic services and resources. But at the same time, they are drivers of resistance and response to the war, carrying the major burden in providing for their needs of their households, participating in civic resistance, delivering social services, volunteering, delivering humanitarian assistance, participating in policy making, and serving in Ukrainian military. Undoubtedly, the involvement of women in and will remain pivotal to the country's recovery and reconstruction. Although the advancement of gender equality and women's empowerment is particularly challenging in conflict situations, it remains of utmost importance to recognize the role and leadership of women and duly support it. This is a critical issue that is demanding global attention and action. There is a lot we, the international community, can and must do to advance financial resilience of women and create conditions for future sustainable, equitable, and resilient recovery. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for that address to us today. One of the things that really you brought forth is how women really need to have more education and training in technology. You know, this is something where I think the world is just moving so fast. We never thought about AI, that it would be here, and it's way beyond us in many ways. People using AI in the legal profession are using it to write briefs, and what happens? Opposing counsel and the judges are finding out that these cases cited in these legal briefs are non-existent. They're being made up by AI machines. So it's really important that we have a better understanding, and women need to be in this. If it's being women who code, if it's being women who make the apps, if it's women who were involved in cybersecurity, on and on and on. But I appreciate you bringing the conversation to what's happening in the world today that's very relevant about the situation of women and girls in war and armed conflict, because we know the tremendous suffering, the incredible violence that goes on. And if UN Security Council Resolution 1325 and its progeny were implemented better, and there was real political will behind that, we know that there would be more women at the table speaking about peace, negotiating these peace accords, and this is what we need. Women in these positions who are there, who are really talking about how women are able to move forward and to have a more peaceful world. Women, peace, and security is a theme that we can reach back over 25 years to. This is something, again, as I said at the beginning, is very close to my heart. So with that, I will now stop, and I will say that we're switching gears a little bit. We have a special video because someone could not be with us today. We have a message by the Honorable Orlando Brewster, who's the Minister of National Mobilization, Social Development, Family and Gender Affairs from St. Vincent and the Grenadines. He has a message that will talk about the cooperation between Taiwan and his country, and let's show that videotape right now. Thank you.
Hi, I am the Honorable Dr. Orlando Brewster, the Minister with the responsibility for national mobilization, social development, social protection, family, gender, youth, housing, and informal human settlement, here in the blessed land, St. Vincent and the Grenadines. First, let me apologize for not being able to be there in person at CSW 68. However, this does not mean that we cannot continue to elaborate and expose the numerous gains and strides that have been made by women and girls across the globe. I'm especially saddened that I cannot be there with our brothers and sisters from the Republic of China and Taiwan as they celebrate this CSW 68. However, I must mention that over the years, the Taiwanese people and government has been very gracious to our land, St. Vincent and the Grenadines. I want to speak as to most recent, where we had an excellent initiative dubbed the Women's Empowerment Project, which was sponsored by the Republic of China and Taiwan. Now, this project came about as an initiative after St. Vincent and the Grenadines witnessed one of the worst volcanic eruptions it has ever seen over the years, as well as the COVID-19 pandemic, which caused serious havoc here on the lives and livelihoods of many Vincentians. And I'm happy that at that time, the government and people of the Republic of China and Taiwan saw it fit to implement such a magnificent initiative. This project touched lives and livelihood here in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. This project was done in collaboration with many of our NGOs here in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. The Women's Empowerment Project had several components, which included vocational and skills training and business development and counseling. It was also a critical tool in helping to put together a mechanism which will help to enhance and secure the financial independence of our women here in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. It also promoted their equal participation and provided socio-economic protection that contributed in the reduction of poverty here in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. And I can say wholeheartedly that the women and girls of St. Vincent and the Grenadines benefited directly from this wonderful initiative. The Taiwanese people and government has continued over the years to be our friend, to be our neighbor, to be our brothers and our sisters. And we are truly grateful. And I know that this is just part and parcel of what they have done over the years and what they will continue to do in our relationship, which was developed since 1981 when we became allies and friends. Again, I want to take this opportunity to wish the people and the government of Taiwan a successful year. And I want to wish you who are there in New York an excellent time at CSW 68. The government and people of St. Vincent and the Grenadines pledge its solidarity and its support to the government and the people of Taiwan. And we will continue to work hand in hand with our women and girls here in St. Vincent and the Grenadines to make sure that they are not left behind. Again, all the best for CSW 68. Thank you.
So now we're going to turn things around a little bit so that we can hear how women and girls would not be left behind with our representatives for the panel discussion. I'm going to call them up here to join us in these chairs so it can be a little bit of an informal discussion, if you will. So I'm going to invite Ambassador Carlos Fuller. Could you please join us on the stage? Hank Huang, could you please join us? And Maria Stroden, please come up this evening so that we can have a little bit of discussion. So our first speaker tonight is going to be Maria. You know, we're all trying to accommodate everybody because there are so many activities going on. So I'd like to just give you a little bit of a brief background about her and have a better understanding as to how she will, you know, discuss this topic that we're here today to explore. So she's the executive director of Outright International, and prior to becoming that executive director, she's been leading the work of development and its communications team. In that position, she oversaw extraordinary growth and visibility, diversification, and increase in funding, in addition to launching groundbreaking initiatives such as Outright's COVID-19, Global LGBTIQ, and Ukraine emergency funds, and pioneering engagement with international business. Before Outright, she served as executive director of RFSL, which is Sweden's largest LGBTIQ organization. And in that capacity, she conducted leadership trainings for hundreds of activists on the topic, strength-based coaching and appreciative inquiry. So really, she's done a lot to provide expert opinions to government foundations, UN agencies, and a lot with cooperation with many different sectors. So I'd like you to speak a little bit to the topic since we know that you're under a time constraint and we really want to hear what you have to say. So the floor is yours.
Thank you so much, and thank you so much for inviting me to be here. If you've never heard of Android International, we work for better lives for lesbian, gay, bisexual, trans, queer people around the world. We have 55 staff in 18 countries currently, and I was very, very happy to see my colleague Jennifer in the video earlier. Jennifer led the marriage equality campaign in Taiwan, which, of course, as I'm sure you all know, Taiwan is first in the region to have recognized marriage equality. And I was very happy to see that video also because I think it really speaks to Taiwan's view that gender equality is very linked to inclusion of marginalized populations such as the LGBTIQ population. Because when you look at gender and you just look at large groups and say, well, you have men and women and that's all we are concerned about, you miss out on a lot of the nuance. Women and girls are not the same. We're all very different, and at the end of the day, we're all individuals. So being able to incorporate that in your view as we all strive for gender equality, I think is so crucial, and I was really happy to see in that video how it demonstrates how Taiwan also sees how gender equality, democracy, freedom, respect for minorities, all of these things go hand in hand. I think this is particularly important because when you look at the world, there are still more than 60 countries that criminalize same-sex relations, in most cases as a holdover from colonial era. And of course, there are many more countries where LGBTIQ people face discrimination and exclusion, and that includes economic exclusion. So you already mentioned Outright's COVID emergency fund that we launched at the very beginning, within a few weeks of the pandemic being declared. And one of the things that I think came to the surface for many of us was that when there is a pandemic, everyone is hurting. But you still can't look at everyone and say, well, everyone's the same, so we need to support everyone in the same way. You need to look at the specifics. You need to look at gender equality in such a situation. And just to give a couple of examples that we learned about, where I can see the sort of specifics for the LGBTIQ population in such a crisis, is we interviewed a woman in an African country who said, she was now living in a big city, but when the pandemic hit, there was a risk. She lost her job in the informal economy, and she was afraid she was going to have to go back to the rural part of the country where she was originally from, because she felt if she went back, she may never be able to make it back to the big city where she had found community. Another person that we interviewed was in a small Caribbean island, and this person also had to move back in with their parents because they lost their income during the pandemic. And one of the organizations that we had been supporting had set up a support line where people could call in. And this person, this is what we heard from the organization that we had been working with, this person literally called the support line from the closet. And everyone who has heard of LGBTIQ people coming out of the closet can find it kind of ironic that someone has to step back into a closet because they were afraid their parents would hear them. And so I think this really speaks to the importance of ensuring everyone needs a measure of financial independence so we can make the decisions that we need for our lives independent of social norms and pressures from others. So that to me is one of the very important aspects. And then of course, if you look at it at the macro level, there is a lot of data that is also supporting that just as gender equality is important for economic development, so is inclusion of other groups. And so, for example, there is a study that shows that countries that are not criminalizing same-sex relations are 4.5 times more likely to have foreign investments. So there are many data points that are coming out that really, I think, speak to the importance of economic inclusion. And I also just finally want to say that I think in order for us to create the kind of world where we want to live, where we have equality for everyone, including gender equality, including equality for LGBTIQ people, including equality for all other minorities, we really need to all come together, including governments, the private sector, and non-governmental organizations. Because when we work together, that is when we can create. And I think we've heard, actually, I've been very inspired today to hear about several really great examples that I think demonstrate this. Like, we've heard about really great examples where governments and non-governmental organizations and all other kind of actors have come together. And I think we are increasingly seeing that as well. Like, one of Outright's current initiatives is about economic inclusion and development, where actually we have support from the private sector to do a pilot project in several countries to promote economic inclusion. And so I think all of these things together, that's how we're going to move the world forward. So thank you very much for having me.
Before you end, I'd just like to ask if you could speak a little bit more about the funds for the Ukrainian women, since we are speaking now about this, and we did hear about the impact of war and armed conflict. Take a few moments if you don't mind.
Oh, absolutely. Thank you. I was trying to be mindful, but I'd love to get a follow-up question. So, I mean, one of the things that we have observed at Outright, I mean, from the COVID fund, but also from many other aspects, is that in humanitarian response as well, it's important to look at the different populations and ensure that you have that kind of help that's needed to move everyone forward. And so in the case of Ukraine, we launched a Ukraine fund within 12 hours, actually, of Russia's full-scale invasion. And to date, we have raised and distributed about $3.5 million to about 40 organizations, most of them in Ukraine, supporting LGBTIQ communities. And in addition, of course, special initiatives are only one avenue. We need to also, of course, mainstream and change what other organizations are doing. So I have two colleagues in Ukraine who are working with the humanitarian system itself, doing trainings and supporting organizations that I think are used very much to sort of supporting everyone, but making them more inclusive. And we have found that there is a lot of interest, and also just in terms of like the funding for this fund, we have seen so many individuals and organizations stepping up. So I think, again, it really speaks to this need of all of us coming together when we really want to see change in the world.
So what you speak about really is something I think that broadens us when we talk about fostering women and girls' financial resilience. You know, the idea of inclusivity is extremely important. And we know the UN has the Commission on Social Policy and Development, and that's really about social policy and how this is a particular topic that just sits in that commission. And then you can't really take away the social justice that goes into that. So when we talk about this economic empowerment, you know, it's all connected. Social justice, economic empowerment, you know, it's really complex in that sense. So, you know, things are very united in many ways, and I'm glad that you were able to bring that up, because you did that in a very clear manner so that we can really see it. So thank you very much. I'd like to turn to our next speaker. You know, we have many people from the diplomatic corps who are very good friends with Taiwan, and we have another one with us today. Ambassador Fuller is here, and we're delighted that he can share his remarks with us. He was the International and Regional Liaison Officer at the Caribbean Community Climate Change Center in Belmopan, Belize, from 2008 to 2021. And if you don't know, He has served as the chief meteorologist, yes, chief meteorologist with the National Meteorological Service in Belize City. He's going to focus his remarks for us now on the topic. The floor is yours.
Thank you very much. And I will take all the credit for the weather you're getting today. Before I begin, let me just share some experiences from yesterday. So yesterday I was at Perry World House at the University of Pennsylvania in Philadelphia at a seminar, and I was on a panel discussion on how would the Belize-Taiwan relationship change under the incoming president. And I said it would grow from strength to strength because it is based on three principles. Number one, the right to self-determination. Secondly, territorial integrity. And third, we both share vibrant democracies. And with that, we can only build from strength to strength. So let me turn to the topic today. On April the 18th of last year, Prime Minister John Briceño of Belize signed a loan and grant agreement with the Development Finance Corporation of Belize to finance the credit program for safeguarding the productive sectors and women MSMEs project, consisting of a loan of $5 million and a grant of $500,000. The purpose of the project is to help the DFC expand its lending to micro, small, and medium enterprises, and in particular, women's businesses, to facilitate post-COVID economic recovery and promote women's financial inclusion. In Belize, MSMEs account for approximately 98% of enterprises and 45% of the GDP. Of these businesses, 24% are women-owned. MSMEs are the driving force for the country's economic development, and by facilitating access to production-oriented financing, the Taiwan ICDF and IDB generate employment and promote economic recovery in Belize. Economic activities contracted sharply throughout the COVID-19 pandemic, and banks tightened their lending to control losses. As a result, cash flow reliant MSMEs faced liquidity problems and were forced to accept layoffs, permanent closures, and bankruptcy. Women-owned enterprises were particularly hard hit by these circumstances. Therefore, this project improves financing across MSMEs in Belize with a focus on promoting women's empowerment and helping the country achieve sustainable and inclusive economic recovery. In addition to the loan, the Taiwan ICDF also supports the DFC's digitalization, which will increase the access of DFC's clients to its financial services and better serve women entrepreneurs. And this is financed by the grant portion. The loan fund will be on-lended to MSMEs enterprises, providing employment in order to support their sustainability and post-COVID economic recovery, emphasizing those owned or led by women through access to production-oriented finance, while the grant funds will support the planned digital transformation of the DFC as an institution. In her remarks at the signing ceremony, Ambassador of the Republic of China, Taiwan to Belize, Her Excellency Lily Li Wen-Su, reaffirmed Taiwan's long-standing support for the well-being of all Belizeans, as well as of women's rights in the country. She also stated that, and I quote, "We look forward to continued deepening of Taiwan-Belize collaboration and relations." In his response, Prime Minister Briceño noted that supporting the development of MSMEs is an important national policy, and he expressed his appreciation for Taiwan's strong support in promoting MSME development in Belize. In concluding, let me also thank the government and people of Taiwan for their support, and to thank Ambassador Lee for the opportunity to share this initiative on the occasion of the 68th session of the UN Commission on the Status of Women. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Your remarks were just so succinct and to the point, but yet really conveyed the message. We appreciate that, and I'm hoping our next speaker will do the same. We have another speaker here with us, Mr. Hank Wan. He's the president of the Taiwan Academy of Banking and Finance, and his background includes being the director of the finance department, Yulin County, the assistant professor at National Taiwan University, NTU, Department of Economics. So without further ado, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Ms. Meredith. Can I give? Okay. I would like to thank Ambassador your invitation. Let me have the chance to be join this wonderful event. And for a long time, the Taiwan Academy of Banking and Finance, we do a very good job into reduction of women's poverty problem. So for this CSW 69 priority thing, I think it's quite good for us to share our experience. So I will bring you can see that in the screen, okay? Okay, but before that, I will brief introduce our organization. The Taiwan Academy of Banking and Finance is a 43 years old organization. We are responsible to improve the productivity of the banking sector in Taiwan. But right now, we have not only in Taipei City, but including the Taichung and the Kaohsiung. They all our bases. And our job is to provide the training program for staff of banking sector, but also issue some certification for the banking staff. But last year, we began our job on financial inclusion. That's a major solution for today's topic. So for financial inclusion, I think most of you have already known the story of Muhammad Yunus, who is a Bangladeshi economist and banker. He created the microcredit to provide the loan to the rural area women. They have the money to make their business. So it wake up the industry to have to create the access to the banking service and to increase the usage of the bank and also to improve the financial products. However, after decades, we find that even the young generation have the bank account, but they still face the problem of bankruptcy. So in the year 2020, the World Bank Group redefined the definition of financial inclusion. That the bank and government should work together to provide the consumer the useful and affordable financial products. But how can they choose the right products from all kinds of the service? So that's my organization start to the job. That's to teach the woman and girl, they have the knowledge, can tell the right products from all kinds of different financial service. So we set up this financial inclusion group to create the win-win strategy for the Macquarie to create a reliable financial system for all of the society. So my team prepared a 4-minute chip video can show the work of please enjoy it.
Literacy. Many women's basic needs are not being met, and they often encounter economic pressures, such as being unable to effectively identify financial products that are suitable for them, being burdened by excessive credit card debt, and facing poverty in old age. According to 2017 Standard & Poor's data, women had a lower rate of correct responses in financial literacy than men. This reflects challenges women face in financial confidence and in evaluating financial products. In response to this challenge, TABF designed a financial literacy program specifically for rural women titled Financial Wellness Self-Development Plan. This course adopts the methods of fitness training to ensure that each student can apply what they have learned to their daily lives. After laying the foundation, we combine lectures on different topics and introduce different financial products so that students can also independently decide what's suitable for them. After participating in these classes, I think that life is about remembering to keep accounts every day and then also distinguishing the things you need, must have, and want. TABF develops suitable learning materials and training cases. to build up women's financial management capabilities. TABF has assembled professional instructors and teaching materials to train rural women to gradually make their lives more stable and improve their financial resilience. Based on the successful experience in rural women, TABF continued to root these experiences deeper, collaborating with local governments and financial institutions. In September 2023, TABF launched the CSR Financial Wellbeing Public Welfare Project, contributing its experience and lesson plans in financial literacy education. TABF have developed an effective financial literacy curriculum for elementary schools through 2 years of trial and iteration, laying a foundation in campuses with positive feedbacks and expectations from students, parents, and teachers. Through interactive games, students are guided to understand money, fostering habits of saving and bookkeeping, while also strengthening awareness of fraud prevention, currency intuition, and personal risk, cultivating good financial attitudes and habits from a young age. This has a profound impact on the overall financial industry. Financial institutions participate in community activities and create value with financial users through CSR programs aimed at financial well-being, moving both parties towards a better and more prosperous self. The sparkle in the eyes of bank volunteers and the spark of interest in financial among students will eventually gather to become the torch of financial trust in Taiwan. Starting financial education in elementary school is an indispensable mission for the financial industry and a unique display of CSR. Nurturing the seedling of inclusive financial education to grow into a tree of hope that shades and nourishes every corner of Taiwan. Let us embrace the journey ahead with open hearts and minds, cherishing every moment as we build a brighter future together.
And we are so to share our material and experience to all of you. So I hope we can work together. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Wong. It's a game changer for so many to have financial literacy and the ability to really understand what that means in one's life, but also to understand about products and how those are so important and what's tailored for one's life at that particular moment in time. So congratulations on the financial literacy and the way you started that program, because I know that that is going to be such a great support and something that really will benefit not only the women of Taiwan, but Taiwan as a country as a whole. So at this time, let's just give one round of applause to all our panel speakers. I wish we had time for questions, but we do have our cultural representatives and we have the experiences waiting for us tonight, and I'd really like to get them on the stage. So I will ask if you can return to your seats, and I'd like to call up our cultural ambassadors, the women who will be leading these experiences. So we have two Miss Lins, Miss Lin 1, Miss Lin 2. If you can both come up. Chun Feng Lin is someone I know for years. Please come up. Xu Peng Lin, I met also in Taiwan. Please come up. Hui Fang, please come up. Yes, these seats are for you. You are the VIPs on the stage. So I don't know if anyone has read the program, but I'm just going to give a little bit about what we have here. We have some experiences that will be waiting for us upstairs. And these are the ambassadors, the representatives, who will be guiding us and who will be with us so that we can have a real taste of Taiwan in all its cultural glory, right? Because that's what it's about. So I'd like to just have them give a little bit of a snapshot so we can have a better understanding when we go upstairs and really get involved in having those experiences, because this is the way that we have greater understanding about Taiwan and about Taiwanese culture and what that means, and how we can really feel that they're something special and yet we can relate to it at the same time. So I'd like to ask our first representative, and I had alluded to that. Chung Feng Lin is the Secretary General of the Young Women's Christian Association of Taiwan at Pengtung. And she's someone who I have been in the presence with for many, many years, and I have heard her sing with such a beautiful voice and bring so much healing to people. She's from the indigenous Ami tribe, and I'd like her to just give a little bit, some remarks that she can share with us. Do you have a mic or no? Yeah. Okay, perfect.
Okay. Utapang uunginang ngaiho sarikakama pulong. According to CEDAW Article 14, I have the right to use my mother tongue. So now I will teach you how to use the indigenous language to say hello. So follow me. Raise your hand. Now, nga, I, ho. Say that again. Nga, I, ho. When you say ho, you should touch other people. Okay? Practice that again. Nga, I, ho. Hey, you are very smart. And as our culture, we say that we are not alone. We have to connect to each other. And then when we raise our hand up, that's the sun, that's the moon. And then come to the spirit person. Then we have to appreciate, then we have to share. So we share the happiness, the feeling that our all wear, that all your money you have to share. That's indigenous people in Taiwan. Okay. So come to the upstairs, we will share the culture, how to combine other together, use that our traditional waving. Okay, that's your turn.
So we have Shu Peng Lin, who is the co-founder of Say Hi Home. And rush weaving is a collective memory of Taiwan's Yun Li. But today, only a few women in their 60s or older are still very familiar with that. If you could explain some more for our audience.
Yes, thank you. Rush weaving, which is the rush, is the material of my heart. It's a handicraft tradition passed down for generations of women in Yuanli Township, a town located on the west coast of Taiwan. With the tradition fading and plastic usage replacing rush and other natural fibers in the past decades, we observed job losses and outflow of population and local communities shrinking. Our town's younger generation is now working in tandem with the elderly the artisans to promote this cultural heritage and continue to create new products. So women utilizing our weaving skills and flexible hours at home secure our economic independence and pass down traditional knowledge and help our local community. So join us upstairs later on and experience Taiwan's rush weaving traditions. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And finally, we have a representative from Gen Tea, which means pure tea. And we have a tea maker with us, and I have to say that I've been privileged to be able to go there to Elon and to taste the tea and to meet this tea maker. We have Kui Fang, who is with us today, but we also have the master tea maker here. Where are you? I'm looking for you. Where are you? You should be here on stage with us too. Please join us. Oh, she went upstairs? Okay. Okay, you're waiting for us, you're preparing for us, we have you, we know where you are. So without further ado, Gen T, can you tell us a little bit?
Hello everyone, my name is Fang, And I'm from tea family, Jan Tea from Taiwan. We've been making tea for 5 generations, and it's all female. And if you don't know tea, that's very difficult to do because it's 99% is male-dominated industry. And making tea is such a labor-intense project. So from beginning to the end, I remember when I was little, we would cut school for 2 weeks straight because every day you just get to sleep for 3 hours. And all the teachers know that you're making tea, so you automatically dismissed from the school. Having said that, my family are passionate about making oolong tea. And oolong tea to the tea world is like, especially Taiwan's oolong tea. In the tea world today, it's like TSMC in semiconductor industry, if you would know. And today we're very proud and really thankful for the opportunity to be here to share our tea. And the way we're gonna do it is gonna be a little bit different. We're gonna provide 2 different kinds of tea ceremony. One is the current tea ceremony that we've been doing, and it's been very popular in Taiwan. So if you come to Taiwan, that's most people will offer you when you first come to the house. And the second way of doing tea ceremonies from Song Dynasty. And Song Dynasty tea ceremony is really something just amazing. It's beautiful and it's artful. Song Dynasty is from 10th century to 12th century. So we invite you to come to have a little taste of Taiwan, and maybe you try a little bit of tea ceremony yourself too. Thank you.
So I'd just like to turn it back to you, Ms. Lin, so that we can get ready and have a better mindset so that we can really be prepared for our experiences.
Yeah. So moving the microphone for me. Now, because you sit for almost 2 hours, you need to do some exercise. So you see your hand moving. Na luan to iyo in hoyan. Hold it your friend's hand. Na luan to iyo in hoyan. So na luan also is another name for Taiwan as Amis language. Thank you.
Thank you, friends, for joining us. It's at that time now that I am so privileged to say we are getting ready for our taste. It's almost here. I want to thank all our excellencies for being with us today, so many distinguished speakers and friends. At this time, we will be going to invite the people in the first 2 rows to go upstairs for the cultural experiences. They're going to be held upstairs. We have limited space, so we need to take some turns of having people go up in different groups. So just because I'm looking at people in the front, I'll ask the first 2 groups to start going up so that if they want to enjoy some of the cultural experiences that they can. I'd like to thank everyone who's been here tonight, joining, lending support. I'd like to thank all of the fantastic team members, the tech people who have made this possible, everyone from the Taiwan UN Task Force for their dedication, and most of all for the Taiwan delegates who have come all the way from Taiwan to share their experiences, what they're doing, how they are leaders, not only in Taiwan, not only in the Asia-Pacific region, but globally around the world. Our heartfelt gratitude to Ambassador Lee and all of the sponsors tonight. With that, I would like to say we are ending the live stream. We thank you for joining us. We hope you have a nice evening, afternoon, day, wherever you are, at whatever time this is. We appreciate you being with us and supporting everyone here. And without further ado, as we continue, we do say that we promote the rights and the values of women and girls around the world. We leave no one behind anywhere in the world. Thank you. Have a good evening.